What's up, guys? Welcome to the Peer Review Podcast. My name is Caleb Davis, and today I'm going to be discussing day one and halfway through day two of NBA free agency. There's been a lot of turnover, bunch of notable trades, a bunch of movement around the league, some unexpected buyouts, and I just want to give you guys my overall thoughts and keep you up to date on the information and the signings thus far. Before we dive in, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And also follow me on X at CalebCD and TikTok at Peer Review Podcast to stay up to date with everything related to the channel. So I'm just going to kind of bounce around the league with a bunch of the teams who made the most notable moves, in my opinion. And a team that I really want to start with and that I've been really impressed with this free agency and this offseason just in general is the Hawks. They've been extremely busy since the finals ended. The Hawks traded for Kristaps Porzingis from the Celtics as a salary shed for Boston, a team trying to stay below the second apron and also trying to eat away at some of their luxury tax bill that they were starting to accumulate with Jason Tatum being out. Doesn't make a lot of sense to go crazy into the tax with a team that's likely not going to be able to compete for a title in the East. But they traded for Kristaps Porzingis with only giving away Terrence Mann, Georges Niang, and their 22nd first-round pick in this year's draft. And I see this move as more of a super low risk, high reward type of get because Kristaps Porzingis brings a lot of elements to a team's offense and defense that are still really, really valuable, even as he started to decline a little bit with age and injury buildup. But this KP acquisition is good for the Hawks on two fronts. I say it's low risk because let's say Porzingis goes down with an injury or has to miss time with an illness or just miss time for whatever reason. You still have Onyeka Okongwu as a starting caliber. I don't know if they're going to start the two together or have him come off the bench as your backup center, but he can step right in to that starting lineup and immediately make an impact. They're obviously two vastly different types of players, but you have that insurance if KP were to go down. That's why I say you didn't really move off of much, and you bring in a guy, and you have a two-way center punch. So let's say they are healthy, boom, you have your stretch five who can block shots, protect the rim, and space the floor. And you also have your rim running, shot blocking, rebounding threat in Onyeka. So it gives you a little more versatility, and especially for specific matchups, like I said, there are two very different archetypes, but they both are good shot blockers. Onyeka is a better rebounder. If you need a better athlete on the floor, you can go with him. Or if you need spacing to open up the floor, you go Porzingis. So it just gives you a little more flexibility. They also signed Luke Kennard. It's a good pickup. He's a good shooter. And they're just trying to add depth to this team. It seems to be that they're going for it this season, and I'm all for that idea. They also signed Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and this is a guy I really, really liked with Minnesota. I wanted to see him with the Pistons. I had my fingers crossed that this is who they were going to go get, but the Hawks came in, swooped him up, and can't be mad at it. As you take a step back, though, and look at the Hawks roster, this reminds me a lot of how the Sixers built that roster around AI back in 01. You just surround AI, this elite offensive player, with athletes and defenders and scoring, not scoring as much, but athletes, defenders, and shooting, especially in the modern NBA. So you think guys like Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Onyeka, KP, like you have rim protectors, you have perimeter defenders, and you have a bunch of just bigger guys on your roster, like Trae Young being a smaller 6-foot guard. You don't have a guy smaller than 6'5" on your roster. And I feel like this complements him very well. The Hawks understand his strengths and weaknesses and are trying to bring in guys who help add and increase his overall floor and potential as it pertains to this roster. And you understand it, and you kind of tip your hat to them. Injuries have opened up a simpler path in the East. I won't say it's just a cakewalk getting to the finals, but the East was starting to build up some depth and start to form some of those juggernaut teams like how you see all across the West. There's still some formidable teams with the Celtics and the Pacers going down, but now you really only have to look out for, I'd say, the Knicks, the Cavs, the Magic, and the Pistons. And there may be some sleeper teams in there, teams that take a leap. But as things currently stand, those are the four teams that you really need to worry about in the East. And as you've seen, like, the path is there. Like, both of those two, like I said, Indiana and Boston went down with those Achilles injuries to both of their stars, which you hate to see. But parity in the league is at an all-time high. We've had 7 different champions in the last 7 years. There hasn't been a repeat champion since the KD Steph Warriors back in 2018. And the one thing I give the Hawks credit for also with going for it how they have is if all else fails and the team flames out, you have a ton of tradable contracts. Like you have a bunch of guys on okay deals, especially as the TV and the NBA salaries continue to increase as that TV deal starts to kick in and the not the luxury tax, excuse me, the salary cap continues to rise. Like it just, you have options, you have versatility. Like you need to go and make a different move, or let's say a guy like Giannis becomes available, and I'm going to touch on the Bucks later in this video, but let's say a guy like Giannis eventually comes available, you have picks and now you have tradable contracts and assets to go make that happen. So you just put yourself in a better position to be able to make moves in the future. So I just love everything the Hawks have been doing with free agency and just in the offseason. And they're going to be one of the big dogs in the East next year. So it's going to be exciting to watch. And we've seen Trae Young on that stage before. I'm blanking on the year. I think it was 2021 when they were going against the Bucks, but it's 2 games away from an NBA Finals. So I think it's possible. And if everything falls into place, they have a chance. Now for the next team, I want to talk about the Houston Rockets a little bit. I think they've had an A-plus offseason thus far. You flip Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks for Kevin Durant on a team that's really devoid of that true number one shot creator, that go-to offensive guy. And KD is elite. He's the best of us. He's 1-on-1 in that area. And even at his older age, he still is a great scorer, great shot creator, great shot maker. He's still a good defender. But this situation, it just helps. It helps round out the Rockets offense. Like I said, it gives you that go-to guy, and it kind of helps minimize a lot of KD's deficiencies because, he's a smaller, frailer guy. You surround him with a bunch of young, talented athletes and defenders, and it just makes his job a lot easier. Like all he has to go out there and do is score. And it's easy for Kevin Durant. It's easy to say for him, but like this is like the perfect situation I think for him to be in. Like I said, a bunch of defenders, young athletes, and the Rockets also have a ton of additional assets, so they can go out and make moves if they get halfway through the season and we need another guard. Well, you have picks, you have contracts, make the move. Oh, we need a backup. I don't know, a power forward, whatever they feel. I don't think that'll be the case because they have a ton of forwards, a ton of bigs too. But if they feel they need to make a move, they have the necessary means to go out and address it. And they've also just been really good in free agency. Like they poached Dorian Finney-Smith from the Lakers, and I'm going to go on a tangent about that in a few, but great pickup for them. You add another wing, 3-and-D wing, he shot above 40% from 3. He's a little older, but he's still like one of the top role players in this league, and it's a good get. On a pretty solid contract too. $15 million is not a ton, especially for a guy like of his skill set. You re-sign Steven Adams, and then you sign Clint Capella, and I'm trying to fully understand like you have a lot of depth at the center position, yes, but you have Steven Adams and Clint Capella, and they're not the same type of player, but they're very similar, and you can't play them together. So maybe that's just insurance if one dude goes down. I guess someone's they're gonna have to sacrifice playing time, but I guess that's just a lot of insurance. Clint Capella's a Rockets guy, so I'm thinking like you bring him back, you try and win a ring together. Like I don't hate the move at all, but I'm just trying to understand like they have a logjam at that, but at a lot of like their front court in general, like there's a logjam of players, and it's gonna be a little interesting to see how they figure out where minutes are gonna be allocated. But that's a great problem to have. Like I'd rather have more talent than not enough. But yeah, again, you still have a bunch of draft capital. You got young guys like Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, and now even DFS. He's not a young guy, but guys that you can move around if you need to. So you have flexibility. You brought in your top dog, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed to say the least. Now, for the next team, I want to talk about the Lakers a bit. I have a strong feeling Rob Pelinka is going to strike out again on another free agency. I have no true information to back this claim outside of us losing out on every center available. Outside of Ayton so far, you still have time. That might happen. But every starting caliber center that was available in free agency, We let DFS walk for nothing. And the first issue I have is letting DFS walk on a team that struggles with, like, they don't have a lot of depth at the forward position, just in general. They don't have a lot of defenders on this team. And you traded D'Lo in 3 second-round picks last season just to let him walk for nothing. It makes no sense. Nothing, like, they never have a plan. Nothing they do ever makes sense. And they keep lucking out with these big star trades. Like, the AD trade happened back in, was it 2020, 2019? Around that time, the AD trade happened. And that, like, AD was coming to the Lakers regardless of Rob Pelinka being there or not. Like, that was, LeBron was making that happen. Clutch was making that happen. AD was making that happen. Like, that was not Rob Pelinka. Like, he got the trade done, yes, because he was their GM, but, like, that didn't have a lot to do with him. And then you move on. This Luka trade where you were just handed Luka Doncic. Like, that wasn't as much as Rob Pelinka's doing. And I want to take that back, actually. It was his doing, but, like, I feel like he keeps lucking out. Like, I think he should be out of his job. I think he has done a horrible job as general manager of the Lakers, especially since LeBron has got there. He has time and time again failed to surround him with talent, failed to create a competent roster, failed to make moves in general. And with this DFS issue, like, they tried to lowball him. And I don't know if it has yet to be, like, come out fully, but it was either on the basis of the years on the contract. Like, they didn't want to give him that 3rd or 4th year because they're trying to save, like, only give out 2-year contracts. So they have cap space in 2027, which is a whole nother issue. But they tried to lowball him. He didn't like it. He walked away. And I feel like time and time again, the Lakers lose out on high-quality role players because under this Jeanie Buss and Rob Pelinka regimen, they always try to take the cheap route. They always try and cut corners. They always try and lowball guys, and I don't know if it's because, we got the Lakers name, like the prestige here, but that shit doesn't work. You can't take the cheap route all the time and try to maintain a competent roster. And to make matters worse, you exacerbate your issues by always losing guys for nothing. You lost Malik Beasley. You just let him walk. You lost Alex Caruso over like $2 or $3 million, might I add, but you let him walk for nothing. You let D'Lo and DFS essentially both walk for nothing because you didn't retain either. Like, the assets that you got back from D'Lo and those 3 second-round picks, you didn't even keep. So what was the point? What was the point in just, like, it doesn't make sense. Why would you trade for DFS, a guy that Luka, like, wanted on this team, a guy that made the team better, like one of your top plus-minus guys, just good locker room, like, just everything. He was a good role player for this team. You just let him walk because you want to lowball him. Like, it makes no sense. They just don't make good decisions when it comes to roster building, role players in general, and just understanding how to construct a roster around your stars. Like, you traded away Zubac. I'm gonna go in since I got time. But you traded away Zubac way back for Mike Muscala for nothing. Like, that was a dumb trade. In the moment, it was a dumb trade. Like, Mike Muscala came to the team and did nothing. You traded away Kyle Kuzma, one of your forwards, which you're devoid of now, forward depth. You traded KCP. Like, he was your starting level 2 guard, your point of attack defender. And since then, you've done nothing to replace the role that those guys filled on this team. And I just think he's been completely in over his head. I don't think he should have this role. Like, Masai Ujiri just got fired. Bring him in. Like, if Rob strikes out on this free agency, like, he has to be gone. There's no way. There's no way this new ownership keeps him around. Like, just doesn't make sense. And if you mess up on free agency, and I don't think it'll happen. I feel like it's very far-fetched. But you mess up on free agency and LeBron walks, you essentially wasted the entire back end of LeBron's prime trying to cut costs, hold on to late first and young players, and just trying to toe the line between, looking at the future and trying to compete right now. When you're not going to always have 2 top 10 players on your team. You've had 2 top 10 players on your team for the last 8 years, and you really have nothing to show for it outside of one title. And winning a title is a great thing. It's a great thing, but you should have more is what I'm saying. You should have had way more prolonged success because, again, you've had 2 top 10 guys for 8 years now. Now you have this version of Luka and LeBron, and you're talking about, let's wait 2 years and look out at 2027. so we can maintain our cap flexibility, which I understand, but you have Luka and LeBron on your team right now. Right now. So you should be doing things to add to the roster and compete right now. You should be trying to do things to complement these two guys right now. They're always trying to wait and wait and wait and look out ahead. But when LeBron is off of this team, like I feel like they've just been taking it for granted. Like, what are you looking ahead for when you have them on your team? I'll say it again. Right now. It makes no sense. It makes no sense to not be going for it. You look around the league, like team like the Bucks, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit, but Giannis is on the fence right now. He's thinking about moving out. They haven't surrounded him with the talent and the rosters that have really appeased him. But the thing with the Bucks is they go out and try. They were losing with Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton as they started to age. Boom, you go get them Damian Lillard. And yeah, it didn't work, but you tried. You made an effort. They keep making efforts to bring in guys to appease him. They brought in Kyle Kuzma. That's not a star-studded move, but you're trying to do something. Like Rob Pelinka just does nothing. And then every season you come into the season and they're like, "Oh, we need wing defenders." We've known that for like 5 years now. Why have you not addressed it? Oh, we'll wait till the trade deadline. And then the trade deadline comes around and you do nothing. Like, so you come into the season with flawed rosters and you just play it out. And it's just a waste of everybody's time. Like, if you're not gonna go for it, get rid of these guys. Like, it makes no sense. Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I will continue to say it. Like, the thought process behind that organization, like, I don't know. I don't know what you do with the Lakers. Well, moving on. The Detroit Pistons. They're like the Eastern Conference, like I mentioned earlier, is wide open this season. And the Pistons have come out and said, like, they're not just going to push all their chips to the table, like, and mess up this young core. And I understand that. I get that. Like, you want to see these guys gel a little bit more. This was their first playoff push. Like, they looked really good, but you want to give them another year under their belt. But I also think you should be making moves to add to this roster. Like, I think you need to bring in a starting level power forward. I think Tobias Harris needs to go down to the bench. He wasn't like bad by any means last season, but if you go into the season with him start, like, you just have no depth. Like, your backup four is Fontecchio. I don't really like that. And you see how far you got with just Cade as your only top tier shot creator in the playoffs last season. Like, you had Schroeder, but like I said, top tier shot creator. Cade was the only guy, and you saw what he was doing. So you surround him a little bit more. You bring Jaden Ivey back, but I'm saying add to that roster, and you never know. You never know. Let's say Cade takes an insanely. He finished top 10 in the MVP conversation last year. Let's say, he finishes top 5 this season, top 2, top 3. Like, you never know what type of leap he can take. And free agency has already started off horrible. And this one isn't as much on the Pistons, but the day before free agency, Malik Beasley, it comes out right as he's about to sign his 3-year extension. And I'm glad that didn't happen, but he's caught in the middle of a gambling scandal right now. I don't know much about it, so I'm not really going to speak on it, but it sucks because he was our best shooter. Great guy off the bench, great energy guy, and he helped with the culture here in Detroit. And I hope everything works out, and I hope he can, it'll mess him up a little bit, like if he's cleared in the middle of the season, but, he come back, play a year, and you figure out the contract situation later. I don't know, but you lose Malik Beasley. You miss out on Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who would have been a great compliment guy to come in next to Cade or Ivy off the bench, like as your third guard. I would have loved that. But you go out and get Caris LeVert, and I'm higher on him than a lot of Detroit media members and Pistons Twitter. Like, everyone, you bring in a shot trucker. But how I look at it, Cade was your only shot creator last season, essentially. At the very least, Caris LeVert is an additional scorer, ball handler, secondary shot creator, and he just adds a little bit of offensive creativity, which we don't have a lot of on this roster. And I get it. He's not a super plus defender, but he's 6'6", and he'll add you some guard and forward depth on the perimeter. And beggars can't really be choosers right now. Like, I'm not saying we're like full out beggars, but like, he's not as bad of a pick. Like, he's a good player. He's not as bad of a pickup as everyone's been making him out to be. However, I don't like the LeVert deal if we're also getting Malik. I've been hearing that we might get Malik Monk in a sign and trade with Schroeder going to the Kings. I don't like the Caris LeVert deal if we get Malik Monk. I'd just rather have Malik Monk in total. I feel like there's too much redundancy between Ivy, Malik Monk, and Caris LeVert. And I would not like be a lot of offense, but I don't really like the idea of having Caris LeVert and Malik Monk both coming off your bench. Like, it's just a lot of redundancy, and you don't have as much lineup flexibility with some of your better players. Now, if we go out and grab Keegan Murray, maybe, I don't know, maybe in a sign and trade, I like that a lot more. You bring him in, he starts at the 4. I doubt the Kings are getting rid of him. I don't really know what the Kings are doing, but yeah, the Pistons, they have some work to do. They need to bring in another power forward. I would have loved Santi, but he went back to Memphis, so you got to live with it. Like I said, I'm not super upset with the path that they're choosing to take, but they just got to make some moves in free agency. I don't want to see the same exact team just running it back. Like, I get that enough with the Heat, get that enough with the Lakers. Like, Detroit, don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. Moving on, we got the Magic, and they haven't done much in free agency besides like bringing back their guys. But their big move this offseason, and I didn't get to touch on it. That's why I want to talk about it now. They traded for Bane, and at the time, I remember everyone was talking about, oh, you gave up all these picks. You gave up like what was it, 5 first round, 4 unprotected, 4 or 5 unprotected. How could you do that? Like Bane isn't even like KD didn't even go for that much. But you got to look at fit on this team. Like the Magic needed a starting level shooting guard who could shoot. And Bane is like an upper echelon shooter. Like you bring him in as like a stocky 6'5", like slow shooting guard who is an amazing 3-point shooter. He's a ball handler. He's a movement shooter, which is one thing they didn't really have with KCP, kind of declining last season. He's a solid defender. And then you imagine him being paired next to Jalen Suggs. Like that is a great defensive backcourt. You have Franz. You have Paulo. Like you have Wendell. Like you have a great starting, like one of the best starting lineups in the league. And if everything works out how it should on paper, this is a great starting 5 and a core that can really make some noise in the East. And I like the idea of them pushing all their chips to the table and going for it. Like this is like, I think the Pistons are about a year or 2 out from making a deal like this, from something like you see the Magic doing, but good for them for going for it. I'm not as hung up on the picks. Like saying back to the Lakers situation, like when you have the guys on your team, you trade those picks and you bring in asset. I mean, you bring in players that can help you right now because you can always, and I think that's why I think like, I'm not going to go in on the Lakers again, but like you bring in players, you can always flip those players for picks again. Like you see it all the time. Like for example, look at the Nets when they brought in KD and Kyrie and James Harden. You brought them in. Yeah, it took a lot, but just as easy as you brought them in, you can flip them and recoup a lot of those assets. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to just sit on things and then do nothing with them. So props to the Magic for going for it. And those picks aren't even really going to matter because you're going to be good. So who cares if you're losing out? Like, yeah, you want to keep bringing in young guys, but at the end of the day, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Like, oh, I can't pick my 25th like pick in the first round. Like, you'll live. I promise, you'll be fine. Now we got a couple more teams I just want to quickly hit on before I wrap it up. But the Bucks this morning just signed Miles Turner to a new 4-year deal. Love this deal for the Bucks. Like you bring in a essentially younger version of what Brook Lopez provided. I think Miles Turner is a better shooter and a better. I think they're in the same class of rim protector, and he's a much better rebounder. Not the best, but he's better than what Brook Lopez was. And this was something that nobody saw coming. Like the Bucks didn't have a lot of avenues to improve their roster, but they found a way, and they keep finding a way. Like I said, when their star wants something, they go out and get it done. They make a valiant effort of trying to maintain talent around him to appease what Giannis wants. And there's a little feathers being ruffled. Like I saw a report come out that Dame, I didn't mention this, but they stretched and waived Damian Lillard's contract essentially. So he's going to be free agent when he comes back from injury. And they did this to make room for the Miles Turner deal. Giannis was not super happy, super thrilled with that stretching and waving of Dame. And they also didn't let Dame know beforehand. And it was said, so a little bit shady, but love the move of bringing in Miles Turner next to Giannis. I don't think it does much for the team. Like the Bucks just are not a very good. I don't want to say a very good team. That's not the right, but they're not a very well constructed roster. Like they don't have a lot of ball handling. They don't have a lot of guard depth, and that's the big thing for them. And I understand you stretch away Dame to free up some flexibility, and he's injured, but I don't see a reason Giannis like should stay here. I just don't like. I think he'll probably play out this season, play out to the trade deadline, but like there's not a lot of maneuverability for the Bucks. Like they don't have their first round picks. They don't have a lot of picks to offer. They don't have a lot of young players to offer. They just don't have a lot of assets because they've been going out and making moves and trying to improve their roster. And they got hit with the injury bug and decided to stretch and wave Dame. It is what it is, but I don't the only way I see the Bucks making like being able to improve the roster and to kind of start to grow and develop again is by moving Giannis and then eventually moving Miles Turner because you'll bring back draft equity and you can start over again. But I don't think they're ready for that. And I understand like you don't want to move off of a guy like Giannis if you don't have to, but I think all the signs are pointing to that's the path that this is headed down, and I guess we'll just wait and see. Now, I got two more teams I want to touch on very quickly, and then I'm gonna wrap. So first, the Nuggets traded MPJ for Cam Johnson yesterday, and this deal, like again, it was very unexpected. It helps the Nuggets because you save around $17 million, so it helps you save money and overall like salary on the roster going into the tax. It frees up a little bit more flexibility and maneuverability. I'm not sure if they're below. I think it moved them below the second apron, but you bring in Cam Johnson, and he's a little smaller than MPJ, yes, but you have a little bit more of a potential for ball handling because you saw it a bit in Brooklyn. Like he was allowed to run action at times, and it just allows for a little bit more versatility. I don't think he's like a top tier defender, but he's a better defender than MPJ, and I think he'll just provide a little bit more consistency. But again, you saved around $17 million. They also brought back Bruce Brown on a vet minimum, and this was the one that kind of shocked me. Like, not them bringing him in, but the fact that it was a vet minimum. Like, I feel like I don't know, but I feel like he could have got a little more money out there on the market. But maybe the Nuggets is a familiar place. Like, he had a great like a career year essentially with them. Like, I get going back, and I think the Nuggets just help bolster their team a little bit. Like you got off MPJ, who's probably your worst defender, either him or Jamal Murray, and you bring in a better athlete, and you bring back bench depth and Bruce Brown. So just good overall pickup. Like they've been pretty well, and I'm pretty sure I saw a report that they have like I don't know if it's their mid-level exception or what exactly, but I think it was I don't know if it's around somewhere between like 8 mil and 14 million, somewhere in that range where they can go out and sign somebody. So they can help their team even more. And the Nuggets were a good team last season. They went to Game 7 with the champions. So like, who knows? Like they could turn around the season and be right back there. Now for the last team, and I can't. I always got to talk about my Heat. They have really done nothing. Um, they've done nothing in free agency, nothing in the offseason thus far. Done nothing to improve this roster. Done nothing by way of signing, unless in the middle of this recording they've done something or made a move. Like they've done nothing, and I mean, as to be expected, our slogan "Run it back," but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again with no resolve, and I think we're insane. I don't really see a path for this Heat team. They're kind of in a similar situation to the Giannis and the Bucks situation. Like you have we don't even have a star that equates to Giannis's level, but we have our two stars. We don't have a lot of draft capital. We don't have a lot of salaries. We don't have a lot of pieces that people want around the league. And we don't ever want to tank. And we always just like to stay mid and like in the middle of the pack, which is a horrible strategy. I guess it keeps money in your pockets, like you're selling tickets, people showing up to the games, but if they really want to improve this roster in the long run, I think personally you need to flip Andrew Wiggins. That's just regardless. You need to flip Andrew Wiggins. Send him somewhere, recoup some assets. I think it's time that you need to flip Bam. Not because he's a bad player, not because he's on a bad contract, but I don't see a situation where you can really build around him with the assets that you have in house. He is not old by any stretch, but he's starting to hit like his prime years, and I don't know how much longer he's gonna want to just sit around and keep running it back. But you flip those guys, you bring in new assets, and you try and build around your young core. Like you got Khalil Ware, you got Jovic, you got Jaime Jaquez. You kind of see what those guys can do. Like I'm tired of this sitting around on our hands thing though. Like the Heat haven't made an offseason trade in 4 years, damn near 4 years. Like Kyle Lowry was the last acquisition, and how long has it been since he's been in a Heat uniform? Like they keep dropping the ball, keep running it back, and I need Pat Riley to do something, pick a direction, make a decision, but you cannot just keep running back the same core group of players over and over again. It's frustrating. But that's all I have for today. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Peer Review Podcast. And give me your thoughts down below. Who's had the most impressive free agency? Will the Lakers finally do something? Will the Heat finally do something? Who will be traded next? Who will be signed? Where's Ayton going to go? Let me know. And please make sure to share the podcast with your friends and family, as well as follow us on X, the new handle at CalebCD, and on TikTok at Peer Review Podcast to stay up to date with all my latest episodes and releases. This is the Peer Review, signing off.